My name is Erica Janus. I'm the Managing Director of the Poetry Translation Centre, and it's just the way of collaboration events that everyone has to do a short introduction so you know who you're dealing with today. The PTC has worked together with Somali Week for almost a decade now, translating really fantastic contemporary Somali poets and some of the greats as well from the 20th century and this century. I need to say thank yous to Arts Council England, whose strategic touring fund has supported the PTC's touring for this year, allowing us to go out and meet lots of new readers and fans of poetry and translation. And I also want to thank Bloodaxe Books, who is our co-publisher on this collection. We're super excited about this. This is Caasha Lul Mohamud Yusuf's debut full collection. Even though she has a very wide reputation as a poet, it's mostly been in multimedia, and this is the first time a selection of work has been collected into a book. So we're really, really proud of that, and we're proud of publishing the collaboration between Caasha Lul and Clare Pollard, who, as Ayan says, has been translating Caasha Lul since 2008, I think, long time. We published a chapbook back in 2012, but and the two of them have read it many Somali weeks over the years, and it's this really feels like a record of a friendship, a respectful collaboration. There's such great artistry in here, and an exploration, creative exploration. I just note yesterday, Channel 4 had this program on TV, I don't know if you caught it, called My Week as a Muslim Woman. I don't know if any of you noticed that. It caused a bit of controversy on social media, and sort of one way, I guess, you might think of finding out what it might be to be a Muslim woman in this country. And I'm really of the opinion that hearing directly from artists who are making new work right now is like maybe a much more beautiful and enriching way to actually learn about each other's lives. So really thank you for all of you for being here. And I'd like to pass now to Martin ORWIN, who is a senior lecturer at SOAS and a long-time translator of Somali poetry, and he's going to be our MC for tonight.
Thank you, Erica. Habeen wanaagsan. Wada salaamantiin. وأنا نفس ما يكون حلو وحير لكن إمك وحنقول بندنا af Ingrizi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Martin ORWIN, and I work at SOAS, University of London, where I teach Somali, and I've been teaching Somali for quite some time now. And I'm going to be introducing the poets this evening. So I've been asked also just to give you a very, very, very brief introduction to Somali poetry. And I think one of the things that we're going to be witness to this evening is a real sort of mixture of different influences. But there's one thing in a sense that they all have in common. And we're going to hear, in a sense, something from the classical sort of tradition with Aisha's poetry. And it goes back as far as we know into the history of Somali poetry. So you go back to Rago Ugas, Al-Leil Dumay Al-Babado Hanunukwas, and all those lines, these old lines of Rago Ugas, we go back to the 19th century. Aisha's poems that you're going to hear, the Gabe poems, the long line poems, are direct descendants from that. So the poetry that she makes as a Gabe in this long line form is the same as what Raga was doing, but in a different context. So she's bringing her experience as a woman living in the 20th and 21st century now to her poetry. The Gabe genre is the one that she's, in a sense, known for. She does use other forms. And what we mean by Gabe is a long metrical line. All Somali poetry is metrical, and all of it is alliterative. So you'll hear this sort of sound, a particular sound in each poem ring throughout the whole poem. In a Gabe line, you've got 2 words in every line beginning with the same sound. So it's something you can listen out for as she's reading the poems in Somali. Even if you don't understand Somali, that should hopefully ring out. she, as a woman poet, there are still men, believe it or not, who sort of say women can't make gaves, and these sort of old-fashioned ideas that some men have. And but Aisha does also make burambur. It's a form that women perform and make on their own, and particularly at weddings. She makes burambur for weddings, though she gives them to other people to perform. And her poetry it's very rich because she's talking about contemporary issues, but the way that she does it is in a manner that we can see directly descends from the earlier poetry as well. So she has the arar. You go back to people like Qaman Bulhan and these people, and they have the same sort of arar. Qaman Bulhan is a famous poet from the early part of the 20th century. And the imagery that she uses, she still uses imagery from the countryside and from the raising of camels, but she does it in a way that is very relevant. And I think this is what makes her poetry so sort of loved by Somalis nowadays. And I mean, her YouTube videos and things have many, many views, and she's been with Clare sort of all around the UK, and she's performed her poems all over the place. So without sort of further ado, I'd like to. It's a really great pleasure to welcome Aisha. I asked her earlier if she's been to the Southbank before, and she said no, she's not actually read her poetry here. So it's actually really great that she's now come to what is, I think, for those of us from Britain, in a sense, you know, we've always known about the Royal Festival Hall, and for Aisha now to be performing her poetry here with Clare, who's made the translations with Saeed Jama Hussein and Muhammad Ali Hassan Alto. It's a real pleasure to introduce them. So, Wad Mahasanti.
So Aisha likes it if I read the translation first, so people who don't have Somali know what the poem's about, and then you can perhaps enjoy the music of hers more when you have a sense of it. So we're going to begin with the title poem, which is a gabe, as Martin explained, and this alliterates in the letter D. The Sea Migrations. Declaiming this poem, a gabe, I alliterate in D to start debate, to disseminate, to disclose to you the public. Hey you, be diligent. I'm trying, though it's difficult, to destroy the injustice, demolish the status quo. Sea migration disables my people. I want to drive it back. I can't endure what's happening. It's like I feel the damage. My body jerks distressed every time I see them desolate. Tears stream down my face. I chew blood from my lips. All Africa has dilemmas. There are always disputes. But in this distressed continent, Somalis sink down to the bottom. Their hearts only detest. They're rusted and deadened. Love for their country's disappeared. They self-destruct. The conscience has departed, the compassion is mislaid, in a trap laid by others. They act despite their interests. Acts seem predetermined. We're destined to be like Palestine. People don't give a damn. Civilian deaths hold no interest. The dealer and the middleman draw the deadly game out. If people abandon their homes and decamp by boat, debilitated by hurt, the unjust discrimination, unable to stand delay in the country of their descent, if thugs dispossess and murder and there's disaster and drought, if dust storms blow, dispersing infection and plague, if children make a dash, the elderly decide to go, then my people, I demand, who'll stay behind in our country? Interesting question I've asked, isn't it? A matter to consider. Look at the hordes of women, all the young who drown, disappearing on ships, dissolving on the crossing, all those dissolved of life's basics, adrift outside their country. Our future floats bloated in sea, is a corpse dragged on sand. They are devoured, picked dry by sharks and sea creatures. Wild dogs eat them like darib, the best camel fat, and many dead bodies lie decaying on our shores, defiled by strangers' eyes, skin peeled off their carcasses. Their lives end in distress, and there will be no decent burial. My people are dull with greed. They get rich or die trying. We are filled with bewilderment, disordered and backbiting, a state that can't read, a reactionary herd. We only do well at begging, pleading for dollars and food. We are snared in a cycle in endless poverty. Declaiming these lines, I am undoing the camel's hobble. Allah has raised me here so I can draw open the curtains. Decades ago, poets first stated the truth of this debate. They devised a chain of poems which we call the Deely, and I've drafted this poem and I add it to the chain. Let us use words as a prayer, let the advice be followed. Let us tread Allah's path, devote ourselves to his order. O deathless Allah, change us before we are destroyed. Let me not drag out my poem, but deliver an ending. If we cultivate our land, if we dig in our crops, if we discern our natural wealth and the rich, deep ocean, the mountains Allah has made for us ready to be mined, the fossil fuel that drips in the dark underground, the mineral deposits, the reserves of gold, the domestic animals, milk to fill milk jugs, if we develop our people in knowledge and faith, the country has abundance. Let us return and reside. Let us purge demons, dispose of devils and their deeds. We have not used our resources. Let's do it now.
waa mahadsantihiin. Bismillah. Dada gabayda hubtiya murtida dooda hadalkayga waxaan uga dan leeyahay inaan danaha sheegay dadweynuhu waxaan doonayaa inaan dadaalay dulmiga dhacayaan rabaa inaan dilaacshay tahriibta dadkeenii rogtaan dayr ku xidhayay u dul qaadan kari waayay oo aan damqanayay jirkayga dubaxiya markaan dib u jaleecoodo inta aan ilmada daadiyaan dibinta ruugay Afrika dib daris looga dhigay daayina bidkeede Soomaaliduna kaba darano way ugu dambaysay qalbiga intuu daxalka galay daamar wada yeeshay dareenkii wadaniga lumo waa dad baabaaye damiir kii wax garanayay baan digigaxoonayni dabin la isu dhigay weeye oo duul kala xidhay diiwaanka waxa inoogu qoran doorkii Falastiine madaneeye aan deerin baa dooxay shacabkii dilaal iyo malaal baa midiba dacalka haystay hadii laga dareero dalkii dooni laga raacay deebaa qaraariye haduu dacarin oo yeeshay dulin iyo abaariye haduu diirto horseeday dad laga ordayay haduu dagal madow yeeshay duufaan kacay hadii duuma laga qaaday duqeydii caruurtii haday dibad u soo yaacday dalka yaa u hari tolo markaa waa dareen yimi waxa jaduuban iyo sheeka duluc dheere daayarta dhamaatiya waxa dumar ilaanaya diracyada tahriibaya ee dabargo u taagan dihalka gaajada kuwa dibad wareegaya badahay dul heehabayaan damaladeenii diibkii iyo xaaska cuno daaqay lafahoode dugaag iyo waraaba daldala daribsideedii duleedka la soo wada wariyo dacalka xeebaaye iyagoo dubkiyo diirki baxay baa la daawaday waa kuwa dar xuma leeday in dugan kari weynay damacba dadka igi galo wada wamayaane dayowbaynu wada noqonayo wasti maraynaaye dib socod ayaan wadan hiyo dawlad jaahilahe dawarsiga ku naaxan hiyo doonis ruux kale diifaan dhamaanaynin baa loogu dawgalay afarta intaan dabarka furay dirad ma ku eegay darajada ilaah baa baxshay ma uga furay daaha doorkii abwaanada hore ugu daliisheene deelayda maansada hore doorkii abwaanada hore ugu deelayda maansada hore ugu daliisheene aniguna ka dabageeyay oo aan ku darayaa waanadu kuway deeqday raacadanahooda iyo kuwa dariiqii wanaadiinta ku ekaada daayino ilaahu ka yeel dabargo weeyaan waxba gabaygu iyo ila durkina waan dabranayaa hadii dalaga aan beerano dooga la abqaalo nimcada inoo dararsan iyo badaha duuduuban buuraha ilaahno dajeegoda la soo daatay badroolka diliqleynaya dhaxay hoostooda macdanta dingigtii hadaan dahabka soo saarno dunyada hadaan dhaqan oo doobi laga buuxsho durusti iyo cilmiga la isbaro diinta la adkeeyo dalku weyna wada deeqaya aynu dib u joogno oo daaqoodka naar iyo ducufka shaydaanka oo khayraadku waa dihin yahay aan dibnaha saarno
As Martin mentioned, Aisha often works in a kind of pastoral tradition that's full of kind of longing for the beautiful landscapes of her homeland. So this is a poem from that tradition. It's quite different. It's called Our Land. The sky is full of spring signs, lightning flashing everywhere, clouds heavy with rain, slow in their movements, ready to pour generously. The land inundated with rainwater, filling the pits and pools full. The flowers blossoming with so many colours, each in full bloom, shaken by the breeze, the trees from top to bottom straight as lines, their leafy branches touching one another. The birds, for their part, gathering in flocks, singing a shared tune, while frogs emerge in their own way. At both ends of the day, morning and evening, the rain steadily falling, the ripe darafu fruit completely coloured in crimson, the midhayo fruit close by, the chino tree in full fruition, grown leaves covering its height, ready for plucking. The ostrich and antelope basking in beauty, along with the gazelle taking their time, feeding on blossoming trees with relish, camels giving birth to calves, cows with drooping udders, sheep and goats ready to milk. All the livestock within your sight, whichever way you look, grazing near the homestead. The herding youth in their white sheets, resting in the shade, passing time with games, chatting without a care. And the she-camels, Gorad and Gobad, hearing their calves cry, feeling the weight of their milk, responding to the call. While evening is still young, the herders take positions, draw the longed-for milk from the she-camels into smoke-cleansed vessels, filling them to the brim in this peaceful settlement. Recounting this heaven that can be found in our land, such abundance overflowing, such purity and plenty, we must thank God.
كيجينا دملاينا نفس ما لكو هالله هذا نو بنخريدون إن شاء الله إركوا جهور شو هلا عجل العليا ضروره جفاعة جورجوريا نو جدل كله بتقي حريدي جي يقولن تهاي تدان تو جد ماذا كبر حذو باللي يدق جمين وبحي قردوبو قاشي مذبكو جنتمه سلمان جراع يصليدي dhirtuna ay gunaya baar gadafka isku hayso laamaha gankoodii faraqi iskaadheen shimbiruhuna geestood hadba geeshcodkoodii googooynayaan oo rahura gaar sula baxay oo labada goorood gabalka iyo waagaba gobo leeday dhibicdii hoobaan guduudiyo dhafaruur go'ayso guudku wada casaado garab taalbilcaanyadu jinowgo gardhoobo caleentii goshiisiyo ay guudka qariso guranaya uunkii guriga iyo cawshii girqurux ugaadhi garanuugta idilkeed gaangaambinayso hadba geed magoolkii mayraca ku goosteen gaariina dhalayo geesweyntu dararto adhigiina godol yahay xooluhuna gebigood isha aad la gaadho geesaan fogeyn iyo guriga ayag daaqaan gabankii la joogiyo kuraygii go' qaato intay hadhac golaysteen gogaalaysigoodii googoostay sheekada halihii gobaad iyo gorad ay lahaayeen oo nirgii ku guuxo darartii gubayso oo nirgii ku gooho darartii gubayso isu guuxay ololkii inta goorca weysimahaaneedka lala galay dambarkii ku gaaxdiyo laga gurayo ibaho gorofkii la culay iyo gaawihii la buuxsho gebiba beeshu nigi tahay galadan tilmaamee geyigeena taaliyo nimcada gadhoodhee geesaha ka qubateen cidi weli galaan darin allah ayuu na garansii
People are always telling me I read too fast, but when I read with Aisha, I feel it's fine. Another gabe, this one's called The Scab, and again it's got a very kind of traditional structure, traditional introduction, which you get in all these poems. This one's in G, although I've not recreated it quite as thoroughly as I did the D in the other poem, but hopefully you can still hear it a bit. The Scab. Recently, I haven't recited Gabe, I can't grapple with it. The task of intoning, chanting Masafo and Guro. I've not recited Gira nor any of the canon. I'm not prepared to give you a poem which is a half-empty milk vessel full of unsealable holes. Let me gift my opinions with concision and clarity. When Allah formed man from the dust of the ground, made Eve and the prophet Adam, from whom we were begotten, O my kin, who swept the grubby earth under the tree and gave you a crown? Who said you were a leader of high caste granted privilege? Decisions made in the darkness never meet with success. Oh, Somalis, get a grip. You've been convinced by a lie. A section of our society lives amongst us segregated. Gall and indignation seeps from this mistreatment, this ghastly condition, and disasters show no sympathy. History is twisted. Our grotesque deviation lacks reason. The older generation turns grief into fate, guards the cruelty of caste. Let's get this complex knot untied. It is an old hardened scab from a gash, an infection awaiting remedy. If we don't feel disgusted or hesitate before malignant deeds, if we don't gainsay it, we're complicit. The older generation turns grief into fate, guards the cruelty of caste. Let's get this complex knot untied. People have been set apart, gravely bullied. My heart beats angrily, is crushed with gloom at this unfairness. It grinds in my mind how they were pushed away. I can't sleep for thinking about punched jaws. In a gaping space, I weep for their grim mistreatment. The older generation turns grief into fate, guards the cruelty of caste. Let's get this complex knot untied. Somalis, you profess belief in the noble gob and lower caste gun, those blackbeards angered over the children you disemboweled. You goad their married women, brutally rape them, get them pregnant. Their women of marriageable age are too low grade for you. The older generation turns grief into fate, guards the cruelty of caste. Let's get this complex knot untied. Summing up my argument and dedication to this cause, no one lives forever. The world is a fleeting glory, just shadows which shift all day, shape size where they're going. The Gaboye will one day rise in status. Their destiny will be peace and growth, strength under great pressure. They will gather honey and supple leaves in our lowlands. Their camels will give birth, udders groaning with milk. They shall overcome hardship one day, God willing.
in dhaweydba gabaygii ma gelin kala gurkiisii gogoos masaafaadka iyo guurow lagu heeso garaarka maasada ma furin gabiba suugaani murtiga awal lagu soo shubana waan ka gaabsaday dumarkan gufeeyaba mid kala galow ka yeedhay aan godaalsho caawo kalaan gurufka buuxshay garida iyo dhoobada markii guula naga uumay ee gibilkii nabi aadan iyo xaawo naga gooyay talowgeedka iyo xaadhay ee gurada ku raaray gadwaday ku yiri waatihiya lamaba gaadhaanka gudcurtarada lagu gooyay baan guula laga hayne isgarwaaqso Somali ee garashada beene geeshka dhanina la daga gooni loo xidhay godobaan la sababaynin baa guudka loo sudhay waa guul dariyo hoog dhibkaan laga garaabayne taariikhdu racan weeyo ongeesna qabanayne odayada nafsiga soo galay wali ku gaashaaman guntintay xidheen baan rabaa inaynu goynaay gunaad raagi weeyo hurgumo gogosha noo taalle hadaynan gilgilashada xumaha gacanta loo taagin inaguna garaadyarida taal waa la galaynaay odayada nafsiga soo galay wali ku gaashaaman guntintay xidheen baan rabaa inaynu goynaay ummadan gooni loo riixay geeska lagu feeray ku haaday qabaan baa qalbigu ila gariiray gaar loo faquuqay naftani hibasho goohday gujada qanjaa laga gashaan kar gama la diiday gaar darrada dadka lagu falaan gaba xilmeeyay odayada nafsiga soo galay wali ku gaashaaman guntintay xidheen baan rabaa inaynu goynaay Somali kun iyo waa gobiyo kala gurkaad sheegtay gadmadoobahaad ciishay iyo gabanada aad dooxtay gambooleyda aad bacsatay gurintirkaad reebtay gashantimaha guur beelay waa gumara ku taalle odayada nafsiga soo galay wali ku gaashaaman guntintay xidheen baan rabaa inaynu goynaay angunaanadkii mariya iyo hadal gudoonkiisa waa giraan wareegayso oo dunidu waa guure harka labada gelin weeye oo galaba waa cayne gabooyuhu gudoonshay ahaan gaadha meel sare geediga marun buu ku furay guri barwaaqaade kushka iyo malabku ka guran godamadeeniye geela u dhaliyo marbuu gaaxda laba maali insha Allah guulaan bariye way u gali maalin.
This is quite different. It's a very beautiful love poem called Beloved, and it's in B. Like a bedridden patient, unable to venture beyond mattress and pillow, forbidden anything but a visitor, I burn inside. I can't imbibe water, I can't eat bread, my lips have been sealed shut. Many days I've bestowed, on battling with what's best. No page has been unturned in a bid to find my fate. Beyond, others slumber soundly in the night's blackness, but I engage in barren arguments, bicker with each day's events. I find best wishes tasteless. I can't be pleased by cities. I feel so phobic. I like loneliness better, ambling aimlessly through plains. My heart belongs to him. His love has beaten me. I am under such bewitchment. I blanch at social gatherings, I hold myself back. My bearing and discretion, all that's visible and audible, has been blunted as I beseech in the wilderness. I walk the brutal stony land, bear the burning heat of sand, and ramble about under blasting sun, blind to my destination. Many times I've been lost and fallen into an abyss, risked my life in this bid, got into bad situations. All the winged birds, brute animals, game animals, the blonde-coloured lion, the blotched leopard, the wider kin of wild beasts, I settle with them in the open land and the bush. The blows that I suffer, the blues that hang over me, the withering body would be long gone, O beloved, with the sight of you. I observe my thirst, my heart not functioning as before, my lips benumbed, my eyes blinking. You're admired by men, a brave hero. Be my new moon, unbreakable metal, the desire of my being, the best of all souls. What comfort it would be to hear that bright news, such balm to welcome you, to abate the anxiety, to behold you. When, beloved, will that be?
baxsanow intaan bugta jiifto oo bustaha iyo gogasha iyo barkime ay daashato la soo booqda aanaha intaan beer cadaadayo biyaha iyo oonta iyo baadkii aan ka soomayo bishmiyo dibna baadkii aan ka soomayo muraayadi ma soo ilaawo si fiican wax warki mahay baadkii aan ka soomayo bishmiyo dibnihii ka xiray intaan tala baahsanayd baan dhigay warkeeda oo buug iyo qorihii furo baabkii noloshayda galay dadkoo badankii hurdo habeenkii oo bartigay ayaan baasaha adduun la yeesha hawlo badan bariidadu way dhibtaa baashaalkii waan ka go'ay sidii aan bayr qabaan anigu baadiyoobay oo bannaanka wareegaya beerkiyo wadnuhu dagoo bariinsaday caashaqii boogtii ugu dhigaan bulshada ka ilaaliya baaldaaq baan keli ku ahay budaydiyo aragtidii bartii dhagaha iyo maqal basaasoo aawada ilay kaa baafiyaan intaan babaqa iyo dhagax burciido aadu kulul bacaadka lugeeyayo cadceeda boqolayo baraadlii socod ku maray intaan bay hoofayo booraamaha jiidayo biimeeyay naftayda oo dartaa boholaa u galay dhammaan baalayda iyo banjoogta ugaadha iyo bulaale libaaxa iyo baraale shabeelka iyo bahweyntii habardugaag bankiyo ayadaba la galay waxaan basanbaasanahay basiirad korkaygu yahay basiirad korkaygu yahay basaasta jidhkaygu qabo waxaa iga bi'in lahayd baxsano waa aragtida boggaa kuu oomayoo bowluhu dhiiggii ma habo bishmuhu hadal way gabeen indhuhu bidhiqday hayaan buruudkiina ragow badheeraha geesiyow bilaladkaan doortayow birlabtii aan jabayn bayaan baa loo xushaa ragaba kaan kala baxo waxaan ku badhaari lahaa bashaarada faraxa iyo bilkhayr ii noqon lahayd naftani ku bogsoon lahayd bidhaantaadoo qurhe hadmaan baxsanoo ku heli
I've never read that one with Aisha before. It wasn't quite what I expected. I'll have to try more giggling in my rendition next time, I think. So we're going to finish with a favourite. We've been finishing with this since we began performing together all those years ago, I think, which is always seems to be a favourite with the Somali women in the audience, and it's one of my favourites too. This is called Taste. If this poem isn't free of flaws or clunkiness, if it contains disharmony or defects, if it doesn't illuminate what's hidden and isn't used to staunch old injuries, its verses won't nourish or a withered breast. Let me recite this with spirit. It's night. It's time. Though he may call you fair names, a lovely mare, and praise you up onto a pedestal all-powerful, and slip soothing words in your ear, sweet to hear, spoil you with silken dresses, robe you in gold, dazzle your eyes and make desire rear up, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. Though he may place you in a skyscraper and fill your world with glass or fashion or your demands, arriving at your door with every whim, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. Though he's said to be wealthy, with a portfolio of property and is known for his patience and generosity, and like a tribal chief is spoken of with honour and has his master's degree and letters after his name, and well versed in the holy, knows the Quran's words, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. No matter that he wears his heart on his chest and shows you the blood's beat in his veins and prints your name on his skin and writes love poems like Ilmi from the Edge and sings enchanted ancient lyrics full of wisdom, pounding drums for your healing songs, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. Though he takes you on a tour around the world and wants you by him on the plane and shows you fountains and pulsing streams in places teeming with deer, antelope, peacock, and lays carpets for you on lush low grass and takes you to stunning Dalo just after rain and gives you bowls of camel milk, wanting your comfort, wanting to look after you through spring and autumn, conjuring rain clouds and Yemeni honey, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. Though he might be a sacred dervish, a fighter for God, a fearless young man who can destroy dark forces, skillful with guns, never missing his target, commended for bravery in battle, who crushes his enemies and tears up their bodies, if he's not to your taste, he's just a blocked path. You might be treated to a bowl of spiced food, barbecued meats and meats cooked with fat, steamed to perfection underneath a tight lid, or a ghee pot with its beautifully crafted case. But if there's no salt to season, you won't eat with relish. Taste cannot be won by compulsion. You cannot go against your own heart. Woo.
inaan halkaas soo fadhiisato ma ahayn haddaanad gabayga deelqaafka iyo diri ka saaraynin dalabtii haddaan laga mirtirin diniqa aan muuqan meeshii dahsoonayd haddaan lagu daqiiqaynin doogtii haddaan lagu lafgurin daqaradii raagay darar lagama maalo tixuu dufan ma yeeshaani aan dareersho caawoo kalaan daribta saafaay inkastuu darmaan quruxsan iyo daadax ugu yeedho ama uu ammaan deexdo oo dawla ku yidhaahdo hadal dhegaha deeqayo oo dabacsan oo fiican dun xariira iyo shaal hadduu dahab ku saarsaaro darandaraya araggaaga hoy damacu waa yaabe oo aanu dooqaaga waa dariiq xiran hadduu daaro waaweyn dhisoo dabaqya kuu jeexo daldhan oo muraayada dhammaan adiga kuu dayro sancadii u dambaysiiye hadduu dalabka kuu keeno naftu waxaa yar doonaysa uu daraga soo saaro oo aanu dooqaaga noqon waa dariiq xiran inkastoo adduun doora iyo dunyo lagu sheego inkastuu dulqaad badan yahoo deeqsi lagu sheego duub iyo malaaq uu yahoo doojo lagu sheego digriiga iyo maastariga uu darajo weyn haysto digriga iyo qur-aankaba hadduu diinta yahay xaafid misna aanu dooqaaga noqon waa dariiq xiran inkastuu dilaacsho qalbiga daabac ku xardhaayo xididada dildilaya wadnaha diraya dhiigooda dahriga iyo laabtaba ku dhiga deeqa magacaaga dahriga iyo laabtaba ku dhigo deeqa magacaaga diiwaankii cilmoo kale galoo dali ka laalaado sugaanta duuga murtida damashi kuu qaado daaweynta heesaha intaa daram garaacayo oo aanu dooqaaga noqon waa dariiq xiran haddii uu dalxiis kuugu diro dunida guudkeeda diyaarada hawada sare haddaad kula damaanshaado durdur iyo hadduu kugu dul furo ila dareeraya deerad iyo cawsh iyo ugaar quruxda daawuuska doog iyo cagaar soo ifbaxay darinta kuu daadsho ama daalo oo roobku helay dalawo kuu maalo oo doobi kuu buuxiyo kuna daryeelayo deyrtiiyo gugaba kuu doo adiga kuu deexdo daruur hortay uu kuu noqdiyo malabka doocaanka oo aanu dooqaaga noqon waa dariiq xidhan inkastuu darwiish adag yihiyo geesi diriraya diraca iyo wiil hoogyaho degan la naafeeyo dumbuqa iyo qorigaba ridoo diiradda u saaro halka lagu dagaalamo hadduu doorar ka ciyaaro ama uu daqiiqayo oo duubiyada gooyo oo aanu dooqaaga noqon waa dariiq xidhan xeedhyo duuban oo duqus leh oo geeda lagu daadshay hilba duban kuwii diiranaa qaar dux lagu shiilay daboolkiiyo lingaxa lagu xidho oo uumi lagu daaray oo badii dahaadhneyd haddii diiqa lagu siiyo haddaan milix yar lagu daadinayn kaama daadogo dooquna sidaasoo kale aan loo dirqi ahayne damiirkaagu meeshaanu rabin dooni kari maysid
iminkana now going to welcome Hanna Ali to the stage. Hanna, it's excuse me, I need my glasses. It's yes, please. Yeah. It's a great pleasure to welcome Hanna and indeed Aisha, because they're two students at SOAS where I work. So it's very nice to see SOAS being represented here as well. And Hanna's a writer and a poet. She's a teaching fellow and doing her PhD at SOAS at the moment, specialising in Afro-Arab identity and examining how migrant workers in Britain negotiate questions of home and belonging and unbelonging. And it's something that sort of recurs in her creative work as well. And she's published things in Scarf, Brittle Paper, Cecil's Writers Magazine, and has been shortlisted for the London Short Story Prize in 2016. And what she's going to read today is some extracts from her Sheekadi Noloshayada, which she originally wrote in this very interesting project she's been doing with Market 54, who are here outside. And she wrote it in English, and then it was translated into Somali. And the whole idea is to make writing available in African languages. And she's translated it, but she's not translated it herself, but she's going to read in the English, and then you can actually buy the ebook and download it from the Market. Here they are, from the Market 54 website. And but she's going to read in English this evening. Hanna, thanks.
Thank you very much. This has been a really amazing project for me. When I wrote these stories, I never imagined that they could be translated into Somali. It's a wonderful opportunity to have to add to African literature, especially to add to Somali literature. I think we're sort of known for having a lot of poetry. There's not a lot of contemporary Somali sort of writings, short stories, literature, novels that have been actually translated into Somali that deal with very contemporary issues, especially in the diaspora. So this is a really exciting project. It's much bigger than me. It's about supporting the movement of adding to African literature and Somali literature. It's really important to me to sort of emphasize that African writings and stories matter, and Somali stories matter as well. So thank you for that. I'm going to be reading an extract from two of the stories. The collection is called The Story of Us, Sheekadi Noloshayada. It's about 4 different women who encounter situations in the diaspora, and it deals with issues of displacement and sort of not really belonging in Europe and not really belonging back home, and sort of unpacking what back home really means. So I'll be reading The Story of Us first. When I first told my mother that I wanted to become a writer and study literature at university, she tilted her head to the side in a moment of genuine confusion, because all subjects involve literature of some sort. Did I mean law? All the great results I had received surely cannot be wasted away by reading. I could read at home for free. What will I tell people, was her first question. Imagine the horror of having to explain to your peers that your only child, yes, a daughter, yes, an only child, has decided to study literature at university. Literature, you know, novels, books, English books, I once heard her say on the phone, cigarette in hand. It's very difficult. They read a lot and analyse it, she added, trying her best not to suck her teeth or laugh. This is the point at which I'm supposed to mention that I will be the first generation to seek higher education. Aren't we all? But that's a bit boring. Sometimes when we sit in the kitchen and her legs are bare, I stare at the stainless steel knife block set, wondering what would happen if I suddenly grabbed the carving knife and went for those thighs. Would she see it coming? Would she even be surprised? I come from a place of hurt and sex. Short breaths and wounds neatly tucked side by side beneath organs, ordered, precise. I don't know where I went wrong with her. I imagine her telling the paramedic, "She's fat, wants to become a writer. I don't know where I went wrong with her." She'll sob into the resuscitator. And I, with my new school shoes, will be 7 again, holding hands with a little white girl who taught me how to play house. Mama, Baba, and child had a stable concept. My growth will be stunted as it is in my grandmother's mind, the one that unremembers more each day. And all this blood cannot be the fault of a little girl with new school shoes. My mother blamed herself for the joy I felt with the acceptance letter in my hand. As happy as if I got my first choice. Well, I did. Perhaps it would have been easier had I told her that I was rejected for law and medicine, and that this was the consolation degree for all broken children. I once read that people don't become writers, they already are. I like that. It means I didn't choose to become a disappointment. It was a long time coming. Bubbling under the surface of that filthy bathtub in Nairobi, a temporary home for those fleeing Somalia, where I sat in my knickers, knees up to my chest, as my mother shaved my beautiful 4-year-old hair off, because at 23 years old, she didn't know how else to deal with lice. Like how I didn't become a child refugee. I just already was, by being born at the wrong place at the wrong time. I still remember the smell of death. Limbs blending with magenta-coloured toenails and crinkly clothes. Bright green socks, a single hairband. I realise I'm not painting a pretty picture of my mother. Let's try again. I can write her better. We have a lot in common, she and I. My saliva could be mistaken for hers. I could be as well, hers, or mistaken. It must have been hard for her, I suppose, carrying divorce around everywhere she went, swaddling us both. A teenage bride sent home to her mother. A gunshot wedding, if there ever was one. It wasn't love, but a greater range of emotions. I never saw my mother cry, only furiously blink away letdowns, steadying herself against hard walls built for women with broken backs and sewn-up vaginas. I'm supposed to be grateful that my creation was halal, a bastard child in name only, you know, the child of the bastard. I prefer to think that my parents' love was like the silence between whispers, so subdued that even when it died, the breath of its echo crawled back into its own cracks, dispersing into thumping veins. Sometimes when she sits quietly by herself, I study her face like a map whose features I can trace to myself, or home, or the space in between those two. Underneath all of that rage is a little girl who nobody taught how to be soft. Our timing is wrong. When we're older, we will introduce ourselves. I must write this down. Thank you. And my second extract is from another story in the collection called Bloated. I was once told that I was searching for my father through all the men that I, let's say, loved. But I just think that growing up in Europe means that the smell of death is no longer that of rotting limbs, but of hand sanitizer and stained clothes, where peeing in a cup with your knickers around your ankles reminds you that everything that comes from you is warm at first. My loose heart yearned for something solid to hold, a warm baby or his shoulders. Either one connected it to the soil of the earth. The only thing that kept him inside me was gravity. My father or my lover, I forgot which one. In the end, love is just thrusting towards trust. His sharp, irregular breath on my collarbone, wheezing like a dirty old man running away from something old or failing to catch up to something new. in this strange land where we are both strangers, estranged. At times I confuse my unresolved feelings towards my father for that of my long-lost country. What's the difference between the two anyway? They interchange in my thoughts. Somalia never sleeps and stubbornly refuses to let me forget that I fled, crossing borders and running away from our problems. Now I speak to Somalia with a broken tongue, my mere existence reminding her that others raised her little girl. His little girl, you see? Don't write this down. All I ever think about is home. That unattainable place that I have searched for in liquor-filled men whose only purpose is to hurt me enough so that I know I'm still alive. Sometimes a punch to the ribs and a trail of blood between your legs is what it takes to actually feel anything. Only then can I taste home again. In the euphoria of chaos and bodily fluids, I'm able to go back to being that war-torn toddler whose bloated belly was a reminder that humans can be empty and full at the same time. Home is like a swarm of guntinos kneeling over cooking pots with mouthfuls of coriander and children gathering close for anjera-flavoured giggles. The air so thick with frankincense that it clouds tales of near deaths and broken hearts, sorrow tucked away in henna-stained fingernails. Every time you read the word refugee, imagine instead of statistics that it's lovers and limbs, and replace it with the word human being. Humans fished from the water, bloated and rinsed, dead and unnamed. The space between Europe and Africa is a graveyard disguised as a sea. An entire population of uncles and nieces, grandparents and toddlers lying but not laid to rest. There is no Somalia for me to run away to. Only fragmented memories of a land so mythical I can only reach it by conjuring it up in times of need. Instead, I replace state-issued clothes with recognizable brands in the hope that I can wipe the refugee smudge from the folds of my body. I smother myself with lavender instead of myrrh so that I too can smell familiar and accounted for. Soon I'll be forced to go back home, to my paper home, they say, as Britain begins to close her borders and uproot all of us vegetables and vagabonds. In the end, all I have is a collection of half-spoken languages that map out where I've been. You see, I write away the inconsolable fear that I am no different from the women at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. Perhaps it was just luck, mere nasib, that's kept me floating above water all these years. I look down at my bloated stomach. Perhaps all these children were the only thing that anchored me to the ground, and now I find myself walking down the street with no one ever knowing that I am an entire graveyard, disguised as a human being.
Thank you very much, Hanna. And as I say, the details of her book and everything can be found outside there. So our next poet is Aisha, Afrah. And I taught Aisha last year. She came to the Somali literature course. She's been in the UK for I think it's 7 years or so now. She grew up in Mogadishu, and as I say, she's doing a master's at SOAS, and she wrote her dissertation on women figures in Somali children's literature, which is very interesting. And she has interest including translation and multilingualism within the Somali territories, particularly with Arabic. We've discussed this at some length. Aisha knows Arabic very, very well, and the whole issue of Arabic being used in literature by young Somalis in the Horn is something that she's particularly interested in. She's also project manager, one of the project managers, along with Hanna, for the Somali Week Festival today, and she's going to be reading her poems that she's made in English for us this evening. What Matsanti.
First, I would like to say thank you so much for coming, all of you. I am really excited because the festival has been going on for like 5 days now, and so many great artists were coming from all over the world, and it was really great seeing all your faces. Also, being here at Southbank was like one of my bucket list items, if that makes sense, so being here is great. Thanks to everyone who organised it with me and the Poetry Translation Centre. I'm really glad that Caasha Lul was here because I actually study her poetry, and because she's actually the first Somali woman poet that I actually studied. Some of her poetry was actually Dr. Martin Owen, and that poem Dog is actually one of my favourite, especially for someone who writes about womanhood and feelings and sorry, all the things that you're not really meant to talk about. So she's like the feminist voice that I follow, like, go Somali women. So this poem is called Alone with the Night. Alone with the night, we wear each other's thoughts, wash our hands of the lines of our tormentors left behind. I of the men that left my name broken, the night of the days that ripped its inky garments. We sit together, I with a womb so full of heart pieces, the night with palms sweating with lovers' secrets. We embrace each other's limbs, fill the lonely voids in our bellies with whispers, prayers to bring to life the leaves that decayed in us. We then let the pain seep through slowly into non-existence. Thank you. So this next poem is called I'll Meet You. I thought the third poem should go at the back, just to let you know. I'll meet you in a field of solemnity, of an anchored soul, of toes stamped on sand, of untouchable light. I will meet you. In a field of uncertain bliss, of a stubborn heart, of nails unbothered by a hammer, of a mind betrothed to greatness, I will meet you. In a field between the struggle of intrusive thoughts and a skin with foreign nerves, between a tongue that wears your name and a mind that floats away amidst the silent sound, I'll meet you. These are all short poems that I've been working on lately. So the next one is called Soft Love. It was soft, almost a silent knock, a whisper into a barren sand, a stone lifted from a rocky mountain. It was soft, a sahan saha song by the sea, the murmur of a Zamzam water. It was a sonnet, a Shakespearean salal. It was soft, the sound of a naked night. The curtain of peace unfolding slowly through my veins is women, springing like a revolution. You are so soft. I've almost never encountered your soul. Cool. I gave up on the idea of me getting used to being in front of people. It's never going to happen. I'm not that person. So the next poem is called He's a Lover of Leaving. He's a lover of leaving. He drops worlds at his feet when calls his heart. He is a lover of leaving. Feet so fickle that they wear the dustest of all cities. 2 shirts, trousers that have stories, too many hearts to know which is beating and for who. He is a lover of leaving, maybe escaping in between playful dialogues within pages and between oceans, places that no one has ever seen. He is a lover of leaving. His words unbridled, his mouth curves into foreign expressions, tongue so loose like a waterfall, but words slip through fingers. He is a lover of leaving. Of emptying himself of himself, he carries paper tickets to the evergreen fields of peace, of belonging solely to himself. Thank you. So this poem is called Qurah. is about beauty. I focus a lot on self-love because there's a lot of media standard beauty all over the world that we can all fit into. So Qurahay is the sweet word he uses, the men that I've come to know around me. Like a normal girl is expected, I should blush, my eyes should gleam with a smile. However, I find it hard to accept, to be gracious and humble. You see, I fought hard to find my beauty. From the edge of a double-sided sword, I've had to look deep inside crooked nails, scratched edges and streams of stretch marks blanketing my soul. To see a glimpse of my beauty, I've had to let me be vulnerable. To be vulnerable for a moment, I've had to be too strong for a lifetime. To let go and be. I've had to stare at me, stare beyond the abyss of my curly hair, my guilty housing shoulders. In that journey, I've come to know that the mirror is a tool, not the definition of my self-worth. You see, we're compared, because until one meets all the lovely and broken parts of one will never know how truly beautiful one can be. Thank you. So the next poem is called A Very Short Story. I always say this, but I'm a barista. I worked at Starbucks for so long. So every now and then I'll be making drinks, and then, because I'm quite short, the machine's here, so someone Somali would be at the store. And the funny thing is, all my friends, people who work with me who are not Somali, they always know a Somali person. Weirdly enough, they just spot it. So they'll be like, "Hey, you're Somali making my drink." They get excited. So this is called A Very Short Story About Somali Face. You always look into my face as though it's the only thing that I possess. You sigh and say that my jaw is perfectly round and my eyes are wider than your dreams, but I'm not my face. My face is just the map where people look for me, but I'm deeply buried beneath layers of loss and love stories, beneath veins colliding as my blood escapes within, between two toes that touched many lands, and a heart of a child who sings Somali lullaby. Hoo-ah-ya, hoo-ah, hoo-ah-ya, hoo-ah, hurdoy, hurdoy, kale. You can join, by the way. Hurdoy, maane, kale. I'm not one for singing, so. In the dark. My face is where my forefathers' stories are etched, with kisses made out of bougainvillea flowers and coffee with zenjabil. My face is a shore to a melanin-rich kingdom of sultans and warriors, from lands where gum grows on trees, birds are born at every nightfall. You can let me know when I should come down, by the way. So the next poem is called The Civil War. I actually was born after the Civil War started, so I always get all these stories, but here's a sad poem for you. When the Civil War came, we didn't know what it meant. Our bare feet dimpling the floor, and our thin arms rolling the battered up old tires of our father's Jeep, like our mother's hand dancing circles on the injera pan. The sparks from the stove drumming for warnings for why the above neem tree leaves stripped from their home. When the Civil War came, we didn't know what it meant. My grandmother's hand is holding into the sky the prayers she fires, wraps around us, unbreakable garments of tears. My father's muscles curve into porous bones, spitting half moons. His back flattens enough to carry his world, but not enough to carry the dreams that his heart planted in the backyard. When the Civil War came, we didn't know what it meant. Until my father said goodbye to his dreams, until my mother's injera was burning, until my grandmother's tongue turned blue and black. When the Civil War came, we did not know what it meant. Hearts left behind in the empty homes, bones betrayed in freezing zones, tongues stretched too long to utter my mother's words and too short to belong to your new mouth. When the Civil War came, we didn't know what it meant. Thank you. I'm going to read one more poem and I'm done. So this poem is called Laughing Off the Tragedies. If you know Somali people, when they come together, they just jokers, I swear. They just joke about everything. Someone died, like the way they died. Like, I think is a coping mechanism, because like we've gone through so much stuff. So I have an uncle in Tottenham, and every time I go to his house, it's just jokes about everything that happened in their childhood. So this poem is about him. My uncle's dinner parties are whimsical. His wife decorates the table with alien food. Our tongues loosen after the steamy qahwa. The sitting room accidentally turns into therapy session. His wife makes sure the incense burned throughout the day. Now we're all high on frankincense, smoke, and stories drip out of our tongues. It always starts with Al Hindi, the well by the neem tree, then floats into Grandad's restaurant in Burkarole. Then the seductive wind of Lee the Beach, and the Wadani songs seep through the radio. Somali, Somali Bale. Gradually the incense burner dies, the beat of the laughter drops, the war permeates through the window and silently occupies between the chairs. The stories next leave the skin marked for life, even though told comically. They go like, Omar with their stained teeth run for his life. Mariam Gaba got divorced. And her house was ravaged by the great storm. Hassan's stomach gone bigger with hunger till his feet couldn't fathom his weight. Sane sold his soul, grabbed the closest gun and held all the neighbors a hostage. Weird. They burned Bacaro of the night, and the electricity left the city blind. Finally, the donkey could freely poop into doorways and alleys and roads. My uncle's dinner parties are therapeutic. Somehow he manages to make us all laugh again. Let the ribs expand from laughter, he would say. We all whisper the grief feeling sweetly into non-existence. Thank you, guys.
Hey, what Mahanti, Aisha. And now we're going to go on to Farah Gabdon, who is Farah. And Farah's been well known for some time now, and she's there's lots of performances on YouTube. She performs and makes her poems in English, but there's Pepper's Somali in there. There's one Kings and Queens that you did some years ago at the anti-tribalism movement one, which I can recommend to anyone. Look on YouTube. It's a very powerful poem, and she's also published a book, Breathing Just a Little, which I can recommend, and I think it just sort of sums up really what she does, in the sense that she says at the back, I don't know why I write these things, but sometimes I'm stood wet hands in the kitchen sink and the water draining makes me think about life and how everything can slip away just as quick as it came. And some nights I lie in bed on my right, the air outside sounds like conversation, and my imagination conjures up all the things the skies must have heard, how many secrets the winds disguise. And I have nobody to tell these things to. Perhaps I wonder if anyone else thinks these same things too. Well, this evening we'll find out. So, what Mahasante Soru.
Thank you. This book is literally just, at the risk of sounding like a crazy person, I have a lot of conversations with myself in my own head. And when I was 17, I started writing these things down. And this is what happened, and here I am. So I want to share with you just a couple of poems from this book. And the first one is called Home. I have heard the word home spoken around me more often than any other word in my lifetime. Heard it spoken thick with longing, my mother's tongue slick with the accent of her ancestors, her dialect still potent, fragrant, lingering. We are the sons and daughters of lands that will always be called home. The children whose skin lay testament to a place we may never have known, who in broken attempts at our mother tongue still claim the lands that expelled us. We are the in-betweeners, lost in a place between being and belonging, the lingering roots of a tree pulled from its soil. We are sired to homes we have never been to, pained by memories we can never lay claim to, more loyal to the homes we have left than the homes we have moved to. We are here, but we are not. We are here, but we are not. Thank you. Diluted. Sometimes
There is more English in me than I can stand. Some days I cannot find all of my mother tongue and I cringe. How diluted my mouth has become, how polluted my identity. We portray our mother tongues for the languages of nations that will never fully accept us. We let the strangeness infest our mouths until we forget how to accommodate our mother tongues. Thank you. The final poem from this book is about my mum. Whenever I think about home or belonging, somehow I always come back to my mum. And this poem is called Noura, which is my mum's name. There is so much of her in me. This woman stood proud, headdress forming an earthly halo about her voluptuous frame. Her name is Noura, and she is light, forever radiant. I've bathed in her sparkle, basked in the twinkle of her love and learnt the pains of a woman's womb, broken whispers of almost babies that made her lament and retreat into herself like a broken angel, or an angelic human whispering in virtuous calm, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. They said that bleeding would make me a woman, and loving a man would make me bleed a different kind of love. She taught me that blood could also break a woman, and that tears made even angels human, that humans sometimes come in the form of demons, and demons sometimes look like friends, that forgiveness makes the broken whole, and that the secret to happiness lay in the gentle remembrances of La ilaha illallah, the velvety chuckles of man and wife, and in the soft caresses between mother and child, between her and I. There is no woman like her. Her name is Noura, and she is light, forever radiant. Thank you. The last poem I want to share with you guys is a spoken word piece, and it's basically the conversation that happens in all of our homes as young Somalis or first-generation immigrants, and it's called To All My Children, and it's a letter from all of our mothers to all of us. If you could see me now, English dictionary in hand, trying to write you this letter, trying to understand this language better so we could communicate, you would never believe it. For 20 years I've refused to learn this language, to immerse myself into this culture. I've gone to ESOL lessons and sat defiant, applying henna to my hands, living in a dream that soon we'll go back to our land and this will all just be so far away. But now I fear the gap between us is too wide. When I speak to you in Somali and you reply in English, it's a reminder of how far apart we really are and how much the cultures that raised us have taken from us, how much I do not know of you and how much you do not know of me. I've watched you grow into a culture I do not know, a life I do not understand. I've walked you to schools and playgrounds, seen the joy in your face as you played Ring a Ring of Roses and smiled into the face of a woman as white as the sheets you slept on. I have known pain in this life, but I have never had my heart broken more than in that instance, as if whiter skin meant more warmth. I watched you reach for her and I spent my days muttering silent prayers. Oh Allah, bring them back to me. You see, I have loved you, perhaps not the way you think I should have done. Perhaps I should have spoilt you with toys, filled you full of sweets and let you run the streets. But I have loved you the only way I know how to, the only way I was taught, through prayers, tears and laughter as heavy as the rain of my once upon a time. I've laughed with you at how my R's roll too thick of my tongue, and my remember always sounds like remember, how I say Birkenham instead of Birmingham. And remember how you cried with me when fireworks on Guy Fawkes brought back the memories of how my Uncle Ali died, how I watched, how I heard the 15 shots, how I held him after and I prayed through ragged breaths, dear God, just let him breathe, let him breathe. I have cried for you the same way, afraid that every death reported while you were out after sunset is yours. I wish that I could make you understand. I am afraid this land that kept you safe from mortars will kill you for your mobile phone. I've shouted from rooftops, screamed through gunshots and run with shrapnel in my spine, carrying you on my back to bring you here, England, this land that promised safety, this land that you call home, this place that taught you things I do not know and told you that I could never understand, that what made sense to you could never make sense to me, as though we had never known love back home. But you are proof that we loved in Somalia, that we danced and dreamed, that your father lay me on my back and we conspired to create you. But you feel less like mine and more like hers these days. London feeds you now and clothes you. I'm afraid that one of these days she will swallow you. Thank you.
Farah. So that brings us to the end of the poetry this evening. I think one of the things that I find, as somebody who's been involved with Somali now for quite some time, I began Somali in the early 90s, and this was when all the civil war and the Burburka sort of all began. And I've seen young people, in a sense, come through university, and young people like Farah and Aisha and Hanna, who have continued in the spirit of the nation of poets and the nation of bards, of which Aisha is such a wonderful example from, as it were, back home, and we see this both in their use of their use of language and their sort of thrill in making something out of the physicality of language, as much as the what they're really sort of saying in terms of the deep sort of emotions that they bring to us. So it's been a real pleasure and a wonderful evening to hear all of you read this evening. So markale sa'ab. Aad baad u mahadsantiin. Waad salaamantihiin habeen wanaagsan. Thank you very much for coming. It's been a wonderful evening, and I hope everyone has a safe journey home.